Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Engine Talk, and I believe this one's 38, episode 38, and this one is called a Royal Flush. And as you can see on the table here, I have two Royal engines. Two new in box Royal engines that have seen, the boxes have seen their better days over the years. Now, I have done a search for a review article, and I did find a Clarence Lee review article in RC Modeler magazine. However, unfortunately, RC Modeler magazine they never put the dates on the pages of their magazine, and it's hard to sometimes discern the year of a review article because Clarence Lee never ever would say that, but he sometimes would allude to a year referring to other engines that he's reviewed. So anyway, I don't have a time frame for these engines. I believe, after I open them up and show them to you, that the time frame of these engines is probably the early to mid 90s. So the first one we've got here is a Royal 45 ABC Schnurl-ported engine. And these are Taiwanese made engines. They are direct copies of OS engines. Now, the funny thing is, in the Clarence Lee review article I just read, the review was on a Royal 40 engine of the same construction type as this one, and he said they're not actually ABC engines. He said these are actually ABN, or aluminum piston brass sleeve that's nickel coated like OS engines. So it's almost like these are direct copies of OS engines. The second one is a Royal 25 RC ABC engine, it says, of course. And of course, these are all, they're, like I said, they're going to be direct copies of OS engines, and the boxes have seen their better days. But I mean, after, it's 30 something years old, you might look a little ragged after that too. So here's this one. This 45 has a really foamy, squishy foam insert here. So we'll start with our engine starting hints, and here's the instructions that come with this thing. Talks about the carb, has some troubleshooting, which is nice, and that's it. That's all there is for this. And here's the general instructions: propellers, fuel. For general sport use, fuel containing castor oil and 5% nitromethane is best. However, FAI or no nitro fuel produces good results. Never use a fuel that is lubricated solely by synthetic oils or that contains more than 10% nitromethane. That's right up my alley. Those are, when it comes to fuel on engines, just about any engine, those are my beliefs. Right there. That's what I could just say. This is my belief, personal belief on engines and running them. 4-stroke, 2-stroke, everything. No more than 5% nitromethane, no more than 10 or FAI. Period. That's all it's ever needed to run these engines, glow engines, well. When people start running 15% and 2020 YS fuel and Sato engines, I just have to shake my head and think you just really don't know what you're doing. But that's neither here nor there. I use a long reach glow plug designed for RC use. Doesn't say, says which employs an idle bar. Okay, so this one is actually suggesting an idle bar. That's interesting. Carburetor adjustments, warranty. Parts breakdown. That's nice. How to order. Of course, that's not happening anytime in this lifetime. It even has prices of the individual parts from that time in history, which is cool. So here we go. Here's our engine, and I'm not going to do a direct comparison today because I've got two engines to show, but I do have a Magnum 45 FSR exactly like this. Probably exactly the same engine. Probably made in the same factory because it's also made in Taiwan. So what are the differences? Well, let's take a look at the differences. First of all, the differences are that Royal always had either these stainless steel or chrome coated looking, plated looking fasteners. That's one way you can always tell a Royal engine, or if a Royal engine is not stock, because they will always have these shiny, beautiful fasteners on them that do nothing other than make them look nice. They also have this nice incorporated brass or bronze bushing or bronze insert, brass or bronze, I don't recall which one it is, it starts with a B, insert for the glow plug in the head, which is nice. And of course, this is the FSR style engine, which when I say FSR style engine, I'm referring to the OS FSRs. That means a two-piece crankcase and the exhaust that bolts on from this side and doesn't have screws that pass through around the cylinder head like that. So that's what I mean by an FSR style engine. So let's see here. Here's our standard traditional twin needle carb. It's got, you know, your throttle arm, throttle stop or barrel, throttle stop / barrel retention screw. And again, it's got this chrome plated or whatever shiny looking things on here. Now the thing I think is interesting is I thought that maybe even the high-speed needles were shiny like that, but apparently this one is not. This came with, usually these would come with a wrench like this, and there's a Allen key in here too. I'm not sure what function okay, so that is only for getting your extension. Wow. Okay, so I would have thought that this would have been only for putting a needle valve extension in here, but I'm not even seeing that in this. So it's makes me wonder if this is the stock high-speed needle, because why else would I need this? Because there's nothing else on this engine where you could use that. But anyway, so FSR style exhaust, and even the exhaust screws are chrome plated or whatever shiny. But this is what I'm talking about, is that it comes on and it bolts on this way, which is always kind of a pain in the butt, because then you have to either have a really short L wrench to get in there and tighten it, or a nice new ball driver that can get in there with its angle and reach and not be already partially walled out. So that is the 45 engine. Let's just do this. Let's open up and look at this 25 RC. Made and printed in Taiwan, Republic of China. Now this is almost a direct copy of the OS25 FSR engine. So this one has something extra in here that didn't come with this engine, and this bag is definitely not stock, but it has some of those used, a few of those bushings that go in a spinner, but it comes with its full tool set, which would be 2 wrenches, which the 45 was missing, the second one, and a high-speed and another Allen key, and of course the screws for the exhaust. This is, like I said, a direct copy of the OS FSR engine, all the way down to the way that intake porting, or whatever boost port, I don't know if that's the intake port, is cast in here. I mean, this is a direct copy. Exactly the same type of thing, where you've got a throttle stop / barrel retention screw. And see, this high-speed needle is a different color, but yet again, it doesn't have that little set screw in there to put an extender in there, so that's fine. But you've even got the silver or chrome plated prop nut. Direct copy of an OS 25 FSR, and I'm sure this thing would run exactly the same thing. Again, now this one does incorporate the through screw around the cylinder head thing, as the OS 25 FSR did too. Like I said, direct copy. Did this come with any instructions? I don't think this one actually came with any instructions at all either. So no. So this one is not as complete, unfortunately, but still a pretty nice, an excellent example of some, you know, early 90s two-stroke engines that were available back in what I consider the heyday of the hobby, which was the late 80s and 90s. So anyway, perhaps I'll do some more direct comparisons, because I still have an OS 25 FSR, unless it's the stock carburetor, and I may not even have the exhaust. It was kind of a parts engine. But I've got the Magnum, and I've got at least 2 OS 45 FSRs that I could do direct comparisons of visually. I'm not sure when or if I'm going to run these engines, but anyway, that is our engine talk episode for today.